I'm gonna get you on my tripod here. Hey, angle's not the best, but we're doing the best we can out here. But yeah, man, welcome to the channel. We're gonna be recapping the prelim segment of UFC Fight Night, Cannonier versus Borralho. Main card was pretty good. Prelims not so much. That's why I'm banging them out of the way solo. Just scheduling with our work schedules, me and Harrison, and then I went to the UNR football game Saturday. It's a bit of a runaway, as Pat the boys say, and so I ended up having to watch the fights on Sunday. And we're bringing you this recap on a Monday. But yeah, so thanks for hanging out with me, going solo. Not usually what we do or how we do it, but we figure it was better than the alternative because here on Beefy Boys Breakdown, we go over every single fight on every single card. And this was our best means to the end of making sure that we stay true to that branding. And but yeah, prelims starting off here, the debut of Wang Kong, who famously has a kickboxing win over Valentina Shevchenko. So like that's like the source of all her hype. And then I believe on her road to UFC fight, won by sub. So somebody that's good enough to beat Shevchenko in kickboxing, but also, good enough to get a road to UFC sub, undefeated at only 5-0 in MMA, but I said the kickboxing background. So yeah, it's a recipe that we've seen work in the men's. Izzy, we got Chama, we got Poetan, and so we never really seen that. I don't think Shevchenko obviously, but yeah. So we're starting to see the kickboxers have success in MMA. And I guess, this is going to be the women's flyweight version of that, coming in at minus 900. Like I said, plenty of hype. Taking on Victoria Leonardo plus 600. And, it's not really, I wouldn't consider it a hot take, but this is going to, a lot of people are probably going to consider this a can crushing for Wang Kong. And Victoria Leonardo, I know she didn't really perform well Saturday, but when you look at the L's, she's a fighter with some L's, but Natalia Silva, very, very good. Melissa Gatto. I'm higher on Melissa Gatto than some people. I think she's kind of a tweener, had some tough matchups in different weight classes, but good fighter. Manon Fiorot, debatably probably best in the world. So Aaron Blanchfield, Miranda Maverick, these girls that she lost to are, debut win over Haley Cowan, who's now in the UFC. So very, very tough strength of schedule for Victoria Leonardo. That's really all I want to say because, this fight ended in 1 minute and 2 seconds with a vicious 1-2, dropped her, KO'd her. Great performance for Wayne Kong. So there's not a lot of X's and O's to get here. I just kind of wanted to make the point that, some people may roll their eyes and think that this win is a nothing burger, but to get a first round KO over Victoria Leonardo, like I said, very seasoned veteran, to advance to 6-0. I'm kind of in on the Wayne Kong hype, y'all. Obviously, one fight in the UFC, you got to kind of slow your roll a tiny bit, but I moved up to 19 in my power rankings ahead of Luana Santos. I think Luana Santos kind of got fraud checked in her last bout, and Wayne Kong, anything but a fraud check. You know what I mean? If anything added to the hype. How many first-round KOs do we get in women's fights? Not many. Just shoveling coal in the hype train. I'm kind of in on the hype train. The anti-fraud check kind of built on that hype. I'm kind of in on Wayne Kong. Yeah, I got her right behind Casey O'Neill and right ahead of Luana Santos in my personal power rankings. And that works out perfectly for a Wayne Kong's call out. First off, love when a fighter has a call out, especially a fighter coming from East Asia, maybe not in tune with, you don't see a lot of those fighters, making call outs. But that's the way to advance your career, right, wrong, or indifferent. That is a way, you can climb the ladder faster. And I'm trying to think, who's the featherweight? There's a featherweight that's really, really good and just doesn't steer his career the best on, or is he move up to lightweight? Ludovic Klein. He just got scheduled against some debut guy. I think he's 5-0 in the UFC or in the lightweight division on a 5-fight win streak, something crazy like that. He's getting scheduled against debuts. her call out of Casey O'Neill is how you avoid that kind of bullshit matchmaking and give the matchmaker something to work with. So, like I said, I have her and Casey O'Neill right by each other in my power rankings. If I was a matchmaker, that's the fight I would make. That's the fight Wayne Kong wants. Casey O'Neill, kind of still getting her footing, coming off a big win over Santos. Lost money on that one. But still, I think trying to establish her footing after the knee injury. So, I'm here for it. I guess short story long, I'm here for Wayne Kong, Casey O'Neill. I think that'd be a fantastic fight. I'd probably favor Casey O'Neill. She looked really good in her last bout. Obviously, more experience, but I don't know, man. Wayne Kong might be the real deal. And if she was able to get a win over Casey O'Neill, who I believe is ranked, is in her second UFC fight. I mean, it's off to the races. Women's flyweight is not the deepest division. And, we could really see a speed run to the top for Wayne Kong if she's able to, A, get the Casey O'Neill fight, and B, get the win over Casey O'Neill. Obviously, easier said than done. Casey O'Neill, very good fighter. But Wayne Kong looks pretty goddamn good herself. But we will keep it pushing. We got more women, this time in the bantamweight division. Josiane Nunes, plus 210, taking on Jacqueline Cavalcanti. And I gotta say, I was kind of impressed by Cavalcanti. So here's the thing. Josiane Nunes was presenting a very simple puzzle to solve. Really just overhand lefts. Like she was just spamming overhand lefts. Really not much kicks, no takedown attempts. Like I know it sounds like an oversimplification, but like basically only an overhand left. But what I liked is that Cavalcanti, as the fight went on, dealt with that overhand left better and better and better, and found new and creative ways to deal with that overhand left as far as like ways to counter it. And like by the third round, she was countering it with these slick uppercuts and it was a nice read. Now, like I said, it was an easy read. It was like these preseason quarterbacks, they're playing against, very standard base defenses. And so they're able to, make the reads pretty easily. I feel like that was a good metaphor for what Cavalcanti was able to do. Josiane Nunes only throwing overhand lefts, playing some base cover too. So, but just like we've seen in the preseason with the quarterbacks, anybody worth their salt's going to be able to figure that out. And Cavalcanti was able to figure it out. And like I said, did better and better with it as the fight went on. I actually did score round one to Nunes in a very close round. Could have given it to Cavalcanti, kind of splitting hairs. Nobody really established themselves in that round. But Nunes, like I said, the pressure, a few of those overhead left did land. See, in round one, Cavalcanti was kind of trying to manage the distance and keep her off her with body kicks. And it worked. Like I said, I gave Nunes the round. So I guess, it didn't work the best. But like I said, as the fight went on, that's the more I love to see that from a fighter. I think that's what separates, good fighters from bad fighters and great fighters from good fighters is like me and Harrison always call it like halftime adjustments, like those in between rounds. So like I said, she went from round one dealing with it with body kicks and trying to keep the distance, varying degrees of success. By round three, had made big time adjustments and was countering it with uppercuts and landing flush on the chin of Josiane Nunes. So I love to see that from a fighter, especially a young fighter. I think Cavalcanti 7-8 pro fight, something like that. Not a lot of experience. So to see her make those improvements, adjustments on the fly, really love seeing it. I scored at 29-28 Cavalcanti. Two judges agreed with me, although I don't have it pulled up right now which rounds they gave. I would assume they gave Nunes one. I think that's the only round you could really give her, but we saw some crazy scorecards, such as the scorecard I'm about to tell you about. One judge scored at 30-27 Nunes, and that is and I believe it was John McCarthy's son, Ron McCarthy. That's worst scorecard of the night by far. Made me nervous for the rest of the fight. I had a couple of buy decision tickets, and if they were giving that one 30-27 Nunes as a guy that's holding a couple buy decision tickets, I had no faith in the judging. But that proved to kind of be the outlier. Really bad scorecard, though. I guess in Ron McCarthy's defense, Nunes was moving forward the whole time. But like I said, as the fight went on, Cavalcanti dealt with that better and better and was able to, solve that puzzle. Moving forward is one name of the game. I mean, it's literally the tertiary metric and damage being the first. And as the fight went on, I said Cavalcanti landing big uppercuts, body kicks, straight punches. I don't like giving Josiane Nunes 30-27 is out of line. But Cavalcanti, I'm kind of lukewarm on her. I'm higher on Wayne Cohn than I am on Cavalcanti. Cavalcanti, I mean, only 2 fights into her UFC career, so plenty of room for improvement. Where did I slot her in at? I slotted her in right behind Melissa Gatto at 17, which sounds really high, but this division's so bad. Women's bantamweight's so thin. I mean, I have her behind Melissa Gatto and ahead of Chelsea Chandler. Definitely more, as Tank Abbott would say, fighters fortitude. Way more fighters fortitude than Chelsea Chandler. But not as proven as a Melissa Gatto. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. I'm kind of lukewarm on Cavalcanti. And then Nunes at 5'2", very simplistic approach, kind of on old Josie and Nunes. Like, she has power, but if your approach is so rudimentary that you're unable to land that power against even the level of fighter of a Cavalcanti, then I don't know how stoked I'm supposed to be moving forward. Keep it pushing here. We got some men's lightweights. Slavikos Borshev, -245. I had him on a parlay, taking on James Yontop, +200. Very entertaining fight. Very entertaining fight because you had a weird mix. You had Yontop, basically like a brawler with an iron chin. God, this kid has a chin on him. Very tough fighter, young fighter at only 25 years old. Got a fucking Uzi tatted on his face. Absolute dog. Taking on Borshev, who the exact opposite, like uber technical. Like, if I had to describe Borshev, it'd be like 100 ranking technical skills with like 0 ranking athleticism. Like, if Borshev had Yontop's like body, athleticism, and chin versus with his same technique, I mean, that would be a hell of a fighter. Or like, just Borshev, just not athletic, not explosive, but very, very technically sound. And he is a dog in his own right. Um, you know, I scored this 29-28. Borshev, I gave him 1 and 2. No, 1 and 3. I'm tripping. I scored this 30-27, Borshev, which one judge agrees with me. I understand the argument of giving Yontop round 3. Round 3 was a war. Both fighters had a lot of success. Basically, a coin flip round. If you gave round 3 to Yontop, hey, I ain't mad at you. I ain't gonna call you old fucking Ron McCarthy with the Josie and Nunes 30-27. But I mean, Borshev in round 1, the accuracy, body and head kicks, landed a huge counter left. That's when you really started to see the chin of Yontop because it was a huge left. And I don't know. I think that the combination of Borshev's lack of explosivity combined with the chin on Yontop, he ate it. But it was a really nice counter left, biggest strike of the round. Now, round 2, Borshev going to the body again, and like I said, well-timed counters. That's what I'm saying. Like, the technical ability shown by Borshev and his ability to pick apart Yontop and make the right reads. I mean, chef's kiss. I mean, he did all the right moves. Just like I said, a more explosive fighter. And maybe it's just Yontop's insane chin. But Borshev, he's not the most explosive guy. He can knock you out with a knee or a kick, but especially with the hands, not necessarily one-shot knockout power. So he was making the right reads, perfectly timed counters, accurately landed counters, but just not enough umph on him to really put Yontop down. So once again, shout out to Yontop's chin. It was crazy. I said, round 3, war. These boys got after it. One of those things where it was like basically tit for tat. And I know I just got done saying Borshev didn't have the most power. I think it was more a factor of like timing and accuracy, as Izzy would always say, timing and accuracy beats power. And I think Borshev demonstrated that kind of theory in round 3 because I think he was getting the better of the exchanges, even though like numbers wise, the exchanges were, basically even. I just think that like the precision and the timing on the Borshev shots being landed in these exchanges made I lean to Borshev. Like I said, if you gave Yontop round 3, you are not a crazy person. Ends up being a split decision. One judge, I would love to know. Obviously, the one judge scored a 29-28 Yontop. Clearly, one of those had to be 3. I'd be interested to know what the other one was. I guess it would be 1. Yeah, I don't really know. I know. I guess it would be 2 because Yontop cut Borshev in 2, but it was a clash of heads. But I could see if you were a judge and you didn't have access to that information, that it was clash of heads. Maybe you gave Yontop 2. Either way, I'm glad the right man won. It would have been bad if Yontop won that fight. He got pieced up and countered most of that fight. Right man won, cashes that leg of the parlay. I said Borshchev, I'm not going to move him up too high in my power rankings. So the lack of explosivity, I think there's a lot of guys that could kind of just out athlete him. If I'm being honest, where do I have him here? I'm behind Joaquim Silva and ahead of Michael Johnson, very top of the koozie tier. I think Borshchev is the definition of a koozie. And what I mean by koozie, so there's cans at the bottom, there's the good fighters at the top. Koozie in my power ranking is like this insulating layer where you're better than a can, but you're clearly not elite. I think that defines Borshchev like to a T. Like I said, Borshchev, great technique, good fighter. Not a natural athlete. It doesn't necessarily. I mean, the striking is nice, but like I said, if you have really good striking, but with subpar power and ability to inflict damage, then and you're a strike, like I don't know, it just gets to be tough. But definitely not a can. Probably definitely not elite as well, and that's how you land in my koozie tier, folks. So yeah, and then Yontop, it sucks because I do have him in my cans here, but he's like a can with some redeeming qualities and some potential. Actually, I have him out of my cans here. I have him at the bottom of koozie tier, mainly due to his chin. Like cans would have got folded by those clean counters that Borshchev was landing. On top, they said he's yet to notch a UFC win, so it gets to be tough. But I mean, I don't think he's like Ash. I think there's some redeeming qualities. I think there's some potential, but I mean, eventually you got to get a win, or else we'll never. Well, in football, they always say potential gets me fired. Like coaches that keep giving a roster spot to a guy with potential, GMs and coaches always have this saying that like potential get me fired. So that's how I feel about Yontop. There's something there, but he's gotta find a way to put it together, man. At only 25 years old, that's what I'm saying. I'm not out on him, but you got to figure it out. Keep it pushing to some middleweights here. Man, I do not know how to feel about Zach Reese. We got Zachary Reese minus 800 taking on Jose Medina. Jose Medina plus 550. Jose Medina is the definition of a can. I've been talking about cans, koozies, who's a can, who's not a can. Whenever you say, "Oh, Yontop's not a can," he's completely defeated in the UFC. How are you going to say he's not a can? Well, here's why. Jose Medina is a can. If you watch these two fights, and Yontop, I would argue, is going against better competition. I think Borshchev higher in the power rankings than Zachary Reese. And Zachary Reese absolutely dog walked Jose Medina. Jose Medina had no success, won no rounds. That's a can. That's a can. That's why I had to separate and create that koozie tier, because I think there's a difference between a Yontop and a Medina. And I think, let me know in the comments if you agree with that or not. But yeah, so Zachary Reese, I mean, 30-27, you could go 30-26 and you would not be a crazy person. He was cruising to a 10-8. He was beating the dog shit out of Medina in round one. I mean, big punches with big power, liver kicks, takedown, ground and pound. And then, like, he got a reversal. But how did he get a reversal if he was dominating? Because he got taken down. And by no means not enough to lose the round, but enough to take that from a 10-8 to a 10-9. And I think the judges agreed with me and saw it the same way. But also, if you gave round one a 10-8 to Zach Reese, like, I don't think you're crazy. Like, there was an insane amount of damage. But yeah, I mean, 30-27 Zach Reese going kicking the liver all day long. I mean, the body kicks. He's 6'4" at middleweight, so he's got a great frame. Looks very athletic. Um, did get taken down, but I just don't know what to do with this because he has a loss to Brundage, and I am super out on Brundage. I consider Brundage a can. It was that slam KO, which you could argue was kind of fluky, but also like don't get slammed on your head by Brundage. Like I don't know what to tell you. And like I said, Jose Medina, an absolute can. So I don't know if that's enough to get Zachary Reese out of the can tier, but kind of like I was saying about Yontop, there's a lot of redeeming qualities and there's a lot of potential with Zach Reese. The 6'4" frame, The striking seems to be well-rounded, did well on the ground and on the feet, but did well on the ground and on the feet against Jose Medina. So it's like I don't know how to like extrapolate that, like, juxtapose that. Like, what do I do with that information if you're dominant against a guy that definitely doesn't deserve to be in the UFC? They kept talking about Jose Medina lost his Dana White Contender Series fight, but showed so much toughness that they just had to give him a contract. Like, hey, that has Can written all over it. What are we doing here? So great performance for Zach Reese. That was his first time making it out of the first round, went all 15 minutes. So, like, I'll say this. Zachary Reese has gotten better since that Brundage loss and, like, seems to be taking his career seriously and making strides and making improvements. And like I said, much like Yontop, I'm not out on him, but just definitely have to see more. And, like, yeah, I mean, a couple more wins and he'll fight his way out of the can tier. I just like, what does it look like if Zachary Reese is fighting, let's say, like a power bar, like a Marc-Andre Barrialt, or even like a Petrosky, guys like that, like guys that like aren't cans, but like aren't the best either. Like I think he struggles with that level of guy, like an Eric Anders. Like I think guys like these veteran guys can take advantage of some of these mistakes. Like I said, Jose Medina was able to get a takedown. He wasn't able to get Jose Medina out of there. So I think Zachary Reese, I think he's good enough to like obviously beat up the Jose Medinas of the world. I just think that like if you get him in there with even like an Oleg Sachek or a Chidi and Joe Kawani or an Iron Turtle, like not world beaters, but guys that are UFC caliber and that can go a little bit, I think he still struggles. And it's not so much physically with him as mentally. He's like I said, he's a big 6'4" athlete. I think he can hang with guys physically. I just don't know if like the fight IQ, like who's that? Who am I describing? Almost like an Edmund Shabazian. But I said early in his career, hasn't even notched 10 pro fights yet. Like I said, just went 15 minutes for his first time ever. So I don't know if that's a good thing against Jose Medina. You got to get those guys out of there, which he almost did on a few occasions. Jose Medina, very tough. Yeah, I'm kind of confused. I'm all twisted up about Zach Reese because like there's a lot to like there, but like there's also the KO loss to Brundage, the fight IQ. There's like he's got to smoothen out those edges. Got to smoothen out those edges if you're Zach Reese. Great performance though. Great performance though. Jose Medina like can for sure, for sure. And then we will keep it pushing here to the featured prelim. Francis Marshall, only 25 years old, taking on Dennis Bazookia. I took a shot on Dennis Bazookia. I had him on a parlay with Con Offley as a two-leg dog parlay that was plus 500. So definitely a little greedy there. Value Gremlins got in my ear there. What can I say? Sue me. I was trying to hit it big. But Francis Marshall looked damn good, and Bazookia not so much. I'll say this, one thing that was unique about this fight, and it's not often that you get this. Round one was a complete snooze fest. I mean, Francis Marshall was just kind of hanging on the back, almost like a standing back take, like clinch control, whatever you want to call it. Like basically a failed takedown that resulted in 4 minutes of clinch control. But Bazookia didn't do shit either. So like Francis Marshall definitely gets to that round, but it was absolute snooze fest. Round two was a banger. These boys started throwing leather, getting after it. Like I said, it's just rare that round one's a snooze fest. Round two's an absolute heater. So at least it wasn't boring all the way through. They got after it a little bit. I thought Francis Marshall won rounds 1 and 2. I gave 3 to Bazookia. I thought in round 3, Bazookia was able to kind of get the hands going. I also feel like Marshall might have been coasting a little bit. So, which isn't smart to do when you're at the level that Francis Marshall's at, right? And granted, Francis Marshall took this fight on short notice, and in his post-fight victory speech, he did say that like cardio, because of the short notice, was kind of somewhat a thing. So I get it. That's probably why he lost round 3. And Bazooki, man, yeah, everybody talks about he trains with Aljo, he trains with Longo, he trains with Marab, but like it just don't translate to the cage. He just kind of shits the bed when he gets in there, man. Just doesn't perform very well. I think he's one of these guys that does really good in practice and gets people believing and talking about him and shit. He's probably like a solid dude. Like Mirai, Aljo was in his corner taking time and supporting his teammate. And like, I thought, I said, I bet on him. I thought he was going to do better than this. And I was very wrong, man. Francis Marshall, though, like I said, only 25 years old. I think that takes him to 2-2 in the UFC. So not a world beater, obviously, yet. You know, a lot of room to develop, but I have him out of my cans here. I'm between Weston Wilson and Jekka Sergi, which, you know, not necessarily where you want to be, but when you're 2-2 and, you know, you're beating guys like Bazooki, it's not going to jump you up the rankings too far. But showed a lot of promise. I'll say this also. What was it? Round 2. Francis Marshall landed a big right hand. I thought it was a flash KO. Now, I guess credit to Bazooki's toughness. Like, it might have been one of those things where he woke up when he hit the ground. Like, that right hand Marshall landed in 2 was huge and landed clean. Dropped Bazooki like a sack of potatoes. So clearly won that round. Bazooki was able to recover, and then by the end of that round, kind of had Marshall's nose busted up, or else that probably would have been a 10-8 round. So I think Bazooki kind of battled back and was able to prevent the 10-8. And then, like I said, had a good round 3. So, like I said, Bazooki shows glimmers. Like, if he was like an ultra can, like if he was a Jose Medina, he wouldn't have been able to recover from the shot in 2 and battle back and have a good end of the round and then go on to win round 3. So, like, there's some redeeming qualities there. Like, I could see how guys like Aljo and Marab, like, believe in him and want to invest in his career. But, yeah, man, just doesn't perform well and get the dub when he's in the cage. It's tough for Bazookia. I don't know if he gets re-signed. He kind of does have regional vibes to him. I don't know. And then Marshall, like I said, something about Marshall. Like, I didn't know he had that kind of pop. I didn't know if Francis Marshall could drop bodies like he did Bazooki in round 2. So, like, Francis Marshall, I think maybe a little bit of diamond in the rough. Like I said, I'm not predicting he goes on to be a world beater or anything, but there's something there with him. He's tough. He, I said, more power than I originally thought. I think he's known more as a grappler, but showed the power in his hands. Got the win. Got the win. I said, not a lot of big names on the prelims. I think that when it's all said and done, probably Wayne Kong might be, like, when we look back on these prelims, like, you know, a year or 2 from now, Wayne Kong's probably going to be the name that, like, emerges and rises the highest if I had to predict for you. But yeah, man, this is Beefy Boys Breakdown. We go over every single fight on every single card by any means necessary. That's why I'm doing this one solo here. But no need to fear. Harrison will join me to break down the main card when he gets off work here in a little bit. And so, you know, I just wanted to bang out these prelims real quick, especially because, I mean, kind of a nothing burger prelims, if we'll be real. But yeah, man, so the only fights that I had action on these prelims, I had Borshchev as one leg in my 3-leg parlay. His leg cashed. I had a Bazooki on a 2-leg dog parlay. Did not cash, clearly. Overall, barely green. Like 1 unit over breaking even. But hey, they won't go broke taking a profit at the books this weekend. You can check us out on X. At Beefy Breakdown, on Instagram, Beefy Boys Breakdown. I have a giveaway still going on. Nobody's claimed it yet. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Follow us on X at Beefy Breakdown, and I will mail you a Jack Della Maddalena Pizzini Prism rookie card for free. And yeah, so just DM me a screenshot of you being subbed to the YouTube and following on X, and you get you a JDM rookie card. That could be worth some money one day, folks. Take advantage of this giveaway still going on. And I said, we'll be back here in a little bit with Harrison to break down this main card. Main card's juicy. Like I said, I just wanted to get these prelims out of the way because we go over every single fight on every single card. But main card, very consequential. Good main card. So looking forward to getting to that with Harrison. And yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. And I said, subscribe. Check us out on X. I'll send you a JDM rookie card. Thanks for watching, everybody.